Welcome, everyone, to another podcast of Conversations with Anne-Marie. I am Anne-Marie, the Art of Healing. Today, I have with me an extraordinary soul, another one of these amazing souls that has incarnated on this planet for quite a ride, quite a journey, quite a ride. Her name is Rebecca Rose. She is an artist, like myself, and a multidimensional energy intuitive seer, as well as a channel. She channels light language, like myself too, which we will talk about, I hope. And as a child, she incarnated into a family that was engulfed in satanic ritual abuse in my lab. And from that is the trajectory that brought her into this world. But we're not going to focus too much on the sorrow. We're going to focus on her, the beautiful soul that she is now. And so now, without further ado, I bring forth Rebecca Rose.
That was quite an introduction. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
You're very welcome, and welcome to Conversations with Anne-Marie. Mm-hmm. So, my dear one, you are quite a soul, and I want to thank you for the bravery it takes to come out and speak about your journey. Is there just, if you want to just kind of tell us where you are now, who you are now, what fills your life right now?
I think the spiritual journey, is really what fills my life now. I mean, it's been so many years, of working on myself and coming into a practice of meditation and inner development, that's really what my life is about now. So in some ways, it's interesting to hear you reflect back, like my soundbite of a bio and be like, wow, I've come a long way.
You have. You really, really, really have. And it's an amazing journey. And that's why I like to have individuals like yourself on my podcast, because I went through an extraordinary journey myself, and it brought me to this point of being the channel, the healer that I am. And I just want to bring like people together to explore this part of who you are. Now, I was reading your website, and you mentioned you have a spiritual mother and father.
Yeah, it's interesting you picked up that, of all the things, right?
No, I mean, it's the most beautiful thing. It's the most beautiful thing. And talk to us about who these parents are.
Yeah, it's nice. This is such a refreshing place to start. We're not going into all of the other things. So just in brief, I have a mother and father from a past life showed up, and this was in 2018. So boy, it's been almost like 4 years now. They are from a lifetime I had with the Crow people in the mid 1800s, and they showed up. I mean, I wasn't calling anybody in. I wouldn't have had the frame of reference to call in like a loving and wise, guardians like that. I was out in the woods walking in the watershed late one night, and I felt first mother come in on my left and then father on my right. And I went, wow, check out this energy. And they've been with me. I mean, I'm with them daily, and it's very, stabilizing and healing and nurturing, and I'm sure that's a counterpoint, that was predicated on the fact that I had kind of the opposite of that growing up.
Exactly.
And so many of us have. I mean, I'm probably not that unusual in that we didn't have, our parents are traumatized, our world is traumatized. And so it goes down through the generations, but that's kind of a nutshell overview, but they've helped me a lot with healing and just guiding me in a really strong, stable, steady, and consistency is what they also bring. Like, I think a lot of us with this kind of darkness in our past had no stabilizing influence, and everything was kind of chaotic. And this is like the opposite of that. It's very, I always say I wouldn't have like I did say already, I wouldn't have had, I wouldn't have thought of this, like, oh, I could have this.
You can't make this up, right?
Can't make this up.
You can't make this up. It has to be divinely orchestrated. It has to be, their love passing through to you right now. I mean, it's exciting. But while you started talking about it, I started to feel this like welling up here in my heart. And I was telling Rebecca before we started on here that I have a plugged tear duct. And so my tears usually fall out of this eye. Well, tears were coming out of this eye right now. And I'm like, oh, I'm really feeling the love they have for you. I'm kind of picking up on that right now.
Yeah, well, too, I mean, a couple years before that, I had met the lifetime, the person that I was, Bodhana, with that tribe of people. And since I've met other people from the larger family unit. And so it's like, wow, I'm really being taken back into this for the healing I need now. Maybe the message to your audience is like these lifetimes, this isn't our first rodeo on this planet. So we can draw upon so much wisdom and love and goodness from other lifetimes. A lot of times we think that of course, we're also aware of lifetimes of darkness. I could relate to that too, but we can draw on the gifts as well.
And talk about, your gifts, and I don't know if it's because of, I assume you incarnated with these psychic abilities, or did you not? Or was it as a result of your involvement with your family lineage that these psychic abilities opened up?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. And that's a really interesting question, because I remember, like, when I was a child, I remember seeing dead people has always been really easy for me. Really easy, and maybe for you too. But I think I don't know if I want to keep calling them gifts, but my abilities, or whatever we might say, my intuition, my connection to other dimensions was co-opted really, really quick. As soon as I was a baby, that was being taken from me. So I don't know that I got to really, I think was frightened and frozen as a kid. And I don't know, I have some conscious memory of paranormal, things going on and benevolent beings, but I don't know if I would say I was always super psychic. And I don't know if I have a frame of reference for other things other than, well, I could say in my adult life later being pretty asleep, kind of head down, muddling through and kind of ignoring a lot of what had happened in my past. But
I think most let's say mediums, let's say people who have clairvoyance at the very least, kind of go through a phase where it's knocked out of them for one reason or another. And then as they get into their awakening stage, maybe later teens, whatever it might be, in their adult years, it opens up again because it simply just can't remain suppressed, right?
Yeah, I think you're so right about that. And I see a lot of clients where that's happened, or we have some kind of awakening earlier on, and we realize as children that's not acceptable in our families where we come from, and we kind of put it away because it's too hard. Nobody taught us how to live in both worlds.
Right. Right. And when do you think that opens up again for you, so that now you actually use that to heal yourself honest, and other people?
It wasn't until 2014-ish, I would say, 2013, something like that. So it's only been, I'm almost 50. So it was in my 40s before I really got this blossoming. And I'm very grateful because I know in part that's what I was taken into the programs for. Right. Now that I have it back, it's like this invincible life force that moves through me. And I'm so grateful.
That's all part of the re-inversion, right? The uprighting of what we have been going through, right? Everything has been inverted, and now it takes us to upright them into the proper way and use them for the proper good. So, I'm getting chills over that. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, it was everything I've been through, I think, was needed in a way from the perspective of the soul's journey, which is what I'm
Mhm.
always looking at, in the Akashic records where I work,
Yeah.
the soul's journey, not just in this embodiment, but through others, and what we come in for in any form, any
Mhm.
lifetime to experience. I think this was, I mean, in many ways, I think I signed up for the whole thing. And
Oh.
maybe having to go back down into the well of darkness to find my light again.
Mhm.
I know that might not make sense to a lot of people, but to me, it is bang on. It is so right on. Like, and in 2012, I was hit by a car and I had a concussion. I was out riding my bike on a training ride in northern New Mexico, and I had a concussion. And after that, my life really fell apart, and all the old memories and experiences that I really worked hard to keep suppressed had started coming back. And that was the beginning of all of this, really was in 2012, 10 years
It,
ago.
it's, well, that's a fantastic date, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
But the other thing that I notice about individuals such as yourself is that you may think it was like the most awful thing you could have gone through. I remember hearing another gentleman from, and I don't remember his name, forgive me, but I think this is important to think about. He's from Australia and he was a DJ. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but he had 3 close encounters with death.
Mm,
There was one where he was like going run off the road. This other one, and they were active sabotage almost. And the last one that finally got him, which almost killed him, was he was hang gliding and he felt a force boom, push him
mhm.
out of the sky and into the face of a mountain. And listening to his story and listening to your story and others like yourselves that eventually woke up all his memories, was it done by a force of negative, or was it done
Mhm.
because it was the next step?
Yeah, totally the next step. It was totally the next step.
It's the
Yeah,
next step,
yeah.
and a lot of us look at tragic accidents and things like that as being bad. But one thing that I've learned from listening to people that have experiences such as yourself is what is really bad and what is really good.
Mhm.
How do we judge that, and especially with yourself that you've had all these let's just say multidimensional experiences, to put a lack of a better word. I mean, what are your thoughts on things? What are your thoughts on good and bad? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh God, polarization, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, how are we have to come to that midpoint, I think, at some point where we
yeah. Well, I come from a
are.
spiritual tradition that's really ancient, and it's really it's steeped in Tibetan, Buddhism, really, which is a
Mm,
non-dual path. And the essence of the teachings is that whatever comes along on the path is what I'm here to learn from. And we
exactly.
can kind of somewhat learn, and especially me, through the practice of sitting meditation, in which in the beginning all your shit comes up and it
Yeah.
feels like you're just being re-traumatized because all the things we get busy on every day are not there to distract us. But
Mhm,
it's enabled me to sit with what's uncomfortable, what I don't want, what is
mhm,
maybe, we seek pleasure, avoid pain kind of thing. And it's not like I need to gravitate pain in my life, but that I have the space in my awareness and my consciousness to accommodate something that is just a teacher. So
right.
kind of slowly, gently divesting myself of all the labels, good and bad, like you're saying. And we're so trained by the matrix and conditioned,
Yeah.
good and bad, and factions and right and wrong. Um, yeah, I think we have big lessons to learn there. And I go into my own, the dark forces and the light forces. I'm still, I do use those terms here and there to talk about my story, but there is like a place of equanimity inside of this that is very wise,
Right.
in which the two become almost things in contrast that illuminate something eternal inside of us. Yeah.
What it is. Oh, beautiful, beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful expression there. One of the parts of your story, and I've heard some of your interviews that I want to know a lot more about, is all the traveling you have done.
Yeah.
You have been to many, many places,
Mhm.
not just here in the States, but overseas. Can you just tell us what made you just like talk about that?
Yeah, wow. God, and as I'm smiling because I've been so sedentary for these years since, kind of working through my father's death and
Right,
shepherding
right.
him through his passage and transition. I've been kind of the most sedentary ever as far as
Mhm.
traveling. But yeah, a lot of it was early on. I spoke about this in my last video on my channel about like wilderness therapy. I sought the outdoors, I sought the mountains. So I traveled all over this country going into whatever wilderness areas we had remaining, and doing big through hikes on different trails. And then I began traveling through my work as a professional artist, which I'm really not in that genre at all. I do
Mhm.
my intuitive work full time, but as an artist, I was traveling to far-flung residencies around the world and being invited to teach and you know do, have a studio and have students and have gallery shows and do those kinds of things. That this all allowed me to travel. So I noticed that I so gravitate to the big wide open, what often we call empty places.
Mhm.
That's where I feel like spirit and whatever we call God in the universe awake inside of me. So I lived in Greenland, Arctic Greenland for a while, in northern Yukon, Canada for a while, living off grid there. And I'm poised to be going full time back to the north, and I'm really excited for that. Um,
That's so excited. I heard you traveled to India as well.
oh yeah, I forgot about India. Yeah, yeah, that wasn't related to my art. That was in 2019.
Oh,
I guess that was my last big trip was India, and I was living over there and right on the border of China, really the ancient Tibetan lands,
mhm.
which are split between China and India now. And today's Tibetan New Year, Tashi Delek. So it's
Uh-huh.
Losar today, March 3rd. That's interesting. So anyway, I was traveling in the mountains there and just steeping myself in another world, which I found so refreshing.
Oh, beautiful. And what
Yeah.
kind of art did you create?
Painting and sculpture. I started as an artist in clay, like back as a teenager, and making a lot of functional pottery and moving into work with porcelain sculptural vessels and a lot of art vessels, in mostly porcelain, and also spliced with printmaking, and then all the other 2D work, which was oil painting, some figurative work,
Oh,
and
wow.
a lot of many different things over, a 25 plus year, almost 30-year career.
Oh my goodness, how marvelous.
But
I
I
just
hardly do anything these days, but all my work now is focused on extraterrestrials and spaceships and things like that. So, yeah.
I just had Stephen Cefalo,
Oh, yeah.
who's illustrating Corey Good's
Mhm.
uh, work.
Mhm.
And yeah, so me and art, well, I don't know if you know this about me, but that I'm an art teacher, an
Oh,
elementary
okay.
art teacher. I have a master's in art education and I have a bachelor's in art history.
Oh, awesome.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
and this is one of my works up here. That's one of my watercolors, and I my art desk right back there with me
Mhm.
here. So I
Thank you.
try and create as much as I can because it's like the only thing that will it's when you tap into your God self, when you tap into your creative, your creative self.
Mhm.
But there are phases in life where that's available to you and you have the ability to do it. And then there are phases in your life where it's not. So
Yeah. Well, and when I look back at my work now over,
Mhm.
my 30s, when I was making my 20s and 30s, I see so much pathos in there and so many things that go, oh my God, it was right there in my art. Like in
Mhm.
my art was what I wasn't willing to share openly with myself, but it came
Mhm.
out that way. And I also think as a visual artist, this, it works with a different part of the brain
Yeah.
in the intuitive, numinous self
Wow.
that we're tapping into to create art, which really was the proving ground or maybe the preamble to me coming back into more psychic capacity. right? I think you could probably testify to that.
That's true. I mean, Steve and I were talking about how if it weren't for our art needs struggle. And I think, yeah, art needs struggle. That is exactly, and maybe the reason why you're not as artistically active, even myself, is that maybe some of that struggle, that angst, is maybe not as present as it is, not as present in your life. Would you agree to that, or not so much?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely less of that. I've been on a tremendous healing journey for,
Yeah.
really better part of 10 years. And
Mhm.
I would say a lot of it is time. Like, I see clients full time. I don't have time to,
Wow.
my sort of, that part of my brain is being used to connect to what I call the other worlds in service of clients and my own journey. So
Mhm.
there's just not a lot of time left over.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep, that happens to the best of us, I'm afraid. Yep, absolutely. Um, the other thing I wanted to pull on you out of that you mentioned in your last video on your site. I don't know if you know this about me, you probably don't, because we really don't know each other very well. My family heritage in this incarnation is from the island of Malta.
Mm,
And
mhm,
on the island of Malta, we have had the largest freestanding human structures, older than
mm,
Stonehenge,
mhm,
in the Maltese Neolithic temples, 11,000 BC, 15,000 BC. And so that's a really big part of my heritage,
mhm,
and it's fascinating to me, one of these civilizations that have disappeared. You are spiritually tied to another civilization that is just being uncovered,
mhm,
Göbekli Tepe.
mhm. Yeah,
Can you
true.
talk about, because this seems to be like a really big passion of yours, and I
I
wrote
know,
on
it's
your
kind of weird. Like,
yeah.
what is this? Why is this? It's been coming in for years and it's just getting stronger.
I
Like,
think
what
it's
is this?
fascinating.
Yeah, it's totally fascinating. So, yeah, my last video I was talking about, well, it was in relation to, for those that don't know, Göbekli Tepe is a site in southern Turkey, and it's
Hmm.
very much an anomaly in terms of what's been found to date on this planet. And it's been dated, it's very old.
Hmm.
Um, there's a new archaeologist who's heading up the excavation, and I think he's installed by the cabal, by the way. I think they're undoing all of the previous, like
Yeah.
hushing all the things that have been learned about Göbekli Tepe. Any case, I was relating it to what I had seen when I was in the programs on Mars, and there was a race of ancient beings, very old, very advanced engineers and architects, who left structures around our solar system that had created the original form of where the mantas were living underground. It was opulent in energy, and it had a frequency fence around it that helped protect the mantas there on Mars. They were not the original creators, but they had helped, they built it out a long time later when they arrived on Mars. For all intents and purposes, those mantas are basically native to Mars at this point in
Right.
how we view time. But anyway, getting back to Göbekli Tepe, what I was shown through subsequent visions and messages was that those same engineers and architects left an original etheric blueprint of Göbekli Tepe on our planet, as if that would unfold information and energy, everything that would be needed to build it in physical form. So energy preceding matter. The energetic structure was there, and then those that came later, whether human or non-human, actually built it.
I'm getting right now this core reaction, like a physical clenching down my core. I get this. Yeah, I get this when I heal. And it's just an energetic, I don't know, just kind of it's just a reaction that I get,
Mm,
very big physical reactions whenever energy runs through me.
yeah.
Ooh, so who knows? Maybe, and it's interesting because I was listening to your last video, and then a video about Göbekli Tepe came on, And they went from that structure to Malta and did a whole segment about Malta, and then they were moving on to something else.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking maybe there's something going on here. I think
Mhm.
there's some sort of connection with myself and maybe these ancient sites that I'm not yet unaware of.
Yeah, it feels like as more is being uncovered at Göbekli Tepe, it's and as more people are becoming curious about that site, and as we move through this transition on this planet right now with everything going on the surface,
Mhm.
that we're waking up some of the old energies of Göbekli Tepe, and because it seems to have a harmonizing effect on other sacred sites on the planet. I mean, they all inform each other, right? I mean,
Right.
Göbekli Tepe very much seems to be a stargate from what I have seen in my own personal visions that I've been given over and over and over, but it's also more than that. It's an amplifier of energy and bringing in things from the cosmos and
Mhm.
up from the earth.
Mhm.
There's a lot to it, and there's a lot to all the sites, but this is peculiar in that there's a lot of more mystery to it. In a way, it was backfilled intentionally, and
Right.
that isn't that something in and of itself. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think we need these places to help us move forward. Um, we do. I mean, now more than ever, it seems to me. So I continue to tune in etherically to Göbekli Tepe to see what is arising through me, like you say, somatically and viscerally getting a response there, and also just being guided to understand it a little better, just for my personal self. Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Oh, it keeps unfolding for me. And I think there's a lot, I think it does for me. Part of it is that ancient connection to what I saw in space by these other builders and creators, architects and engineers. I don't know exactly
So
how to name for them.
would you call them, are they the ancient builder race that we've heard
They
about?
have been called that, yes. And I prefer not to maybe use the same terminology, but yeah,
Yeah.
for all purposes, yes.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Who are the ones? I can't, it escapes me right now. There was a
Mhm.
group of beings that channeled through a friend of mine. Her name is Tina Spalding, and on various retreats, she would channel ET races. And I'm trying to connect with who that race was. The Guardians.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't know if they're the same. I have a
Mhm.
feeling, I don't know. I don't know if they're the same, the Guardians and then the ancient builder race, because from what I understand, all the stargates and all the jumps that we have throughout our universe were set up by these ancient architects,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Do you have any knowledge or anything to add to that?
I'm, personally, I don't have all the answers to that. I
Okay.
never come as a book of wisdom, great wisdom
I
and
just
on
didn't
all
know
things,
if
but
you
yeah.
if you've heard anything or if you've experienced anything that has to do with the original architects of our solar system or anything like
I've
that.
heard a lot of things, but for me, I prefer to really turn inward experientially and to
Absolutely.
see what's coming through so
Mhm,
that there's a level of, for me, a personal sort of connection with the information.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories and there's a lot of truth and there's a lot of, I think, confusion, and we have to be discerning about what,
Absolutely.
we're, yeah.
It's a smart thing to do.
Mhm.
I'm still at the phase, I'm still at the phase that I'm seeking knowledge. I'm asking questions of people. I'm listening to different things, integrating it into my own, like what
Hmm.
happened to me, like when I get these, I call them, these core reactions.
Mhm.
That's what draws my truth. That's what I'm like, okay, so if this is coming in, then this is what's true for me. And it's really all about only us, right? Your journey is really only about you.
Mm. Mhm.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? My journey is really only about me because I'm living,
Yeah, because
you
you're
know what I
the
mean?
you're the in many ways the master of that journey. And it's
Right.
coming in, these teachings are coming in, these understandings are coming in for you, for your
Mm.
own growth. Is that kind of what?
It's exactly what it is. And this is what has started my whole YouTube kind of the podcast that I've done. I want to talk to people and hear what they have to say and allow people to educate me because I never claim to know anything. I
Yeah,
never
that's how I
claim
feel
to,
too. Like,
you know, I
yeah.
can only tell you what I've experienced, but
Mhm.
to put myself out there as the end all know all is ridiculous in my point of view. So I'm always open to being corrected. I'm always open to say,
Yes.
uh, you know, I can appreciate your point of view, but from my point of view, this is what happens.
And also from, humans are kind of landlocked in this linear 3D perspective, which is very much, it's diluted by this black and white mentality.
Yeah.
As my journey as an intuitive and a seer and a channel has taught me that it's both and. So there can be a lot of truth in different things. It's not like we have to eliminate everything. And we often want to have a tidy package of this is how the universe came into being. This is the one answer.
I think we're really struggling with this right now because everybody, even both sides of the aisle, if you want to put it that way, everybody wants their point of view to be right.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't hold that.
Mm-hmm.
We can't hold that. We can't hold other people. We can't say, oh, you're completely wrong, because for them, they're completely right.
Yeah.
We have to honor that about them and just kind of like be on ourselves. I want to move on to the next subject, which is something that's very dear to my heart. And I have absolutely no knowledge of your end of it. So, light language.
Mm.
From my point of view, just so you know, and uh, I started channeling light language before I started channeling what I call English. you know, that's where my journey started about 4 years ago. Um, and I still channel light language. It runs like all in my head all the
Like a
time,
faucet all the time.
all the time. So tell me about your journey with light language.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah. The ever-present light language in my life. Well, I woke in the night. How did it start? It was this was 2014 or 15, and I was meditating late at night, and I would start to fall asleep, and I'd wake myself up speaking something. I was like, what was that thing that just came up? It
Mm.
would happen once in a while. And then over time, one morning, I woke up and I was toning. I had all of this like angelic presence and toning, and the light language had come through along with these long vocalizations. And I woke
Yeah.
myself up from sleep just like that. And the room was full of
Woo.
presence. It
I'm
was
shaking.
it was
They're
it was one
happy.
of the most like far out spiritual experiences I've ever had in my life. And from then on, it just has been going. But it's a bit of a mystery and an anomaly, I would say. Like,
It
how does this
is.
even start? And people have said, can you teach me how to do it? And by God, whenever I'm asked to teach what I know, I go, oh, I don't know anything. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know how to replicate that experience precisely for other people,
Yeah. Yeah.
per se. But it's been, yeah, it runs like a faucet. It comes up when I'm doing any kind of reading or work with other people. It comes in as a transmission, and through it I get a kind of linear English understanding. But I
Mhm.
really perceive it, because people say, well, who is that? And I perceive it as other dimensions of a higher self. That's me, but that is
Mhm.
has a bandwidth that is big enough to download information from other streams of consciousness and awareness.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of times I feel like a little old brown woman when I'm speaking light language, and
Mhm.
it will sound kind of indigenous.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but and I don't try and
Wow.
kind of put it in a box too much. I just know that it's light, and it always upgrades my, if I let it, go, it's very much uplifts my frequency.
Absolutely. It's that when I start to chant, when I first started channeling, it's like almost like the Drano, that it's clearing the pipes out, it's elevating
Mhm.
your frequency, it's the
Mhm.
precursor. I always describe it as light in spoken form.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it comes through me as a a tool. Like I have different, like I feel different energies. One is like, you know, kind of like a loving teacher or mother figure or something like that, that's very straightforward and very loving. And they say, what are they saying? I said, I can't exactly tell you what they're saying, but I can tell you the emotions behind it.
Mhm.
I can tell you that this is like a loving kind of nurturing, almost scolding kind of thing, you know, like, come on now, it is time for you to do this, and it is time for you to do that, and this is blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
So I feel that kind of thing. I feel there's a language that comes through that's just ticka, 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 just like
Yes.
really clicky.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Um, uh, there's one that I call the samurai because it sounds very, very Japanesey.
Mm, mhm.
And it just comes through with this very masculine, very forceful warrior kind of energy that comes through. Um, uh, even, you know, which makes me think that our indigenous languages are star languages.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had languages that sound like Swahili, or you know, or like African and Indian and Chinese and Japanese and um like you said, like like maybe a jungle language of some sort, South American language. I don't know,
Yeah.
beats the heck out of me, but it is a it's in me all the time now. I hear it in my head. I hear
Mhm.
it while I'm sleeping, you know, like you said.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Isn't it?
It's
It's very
fascinating.
fascinating. It feels to me that more and more people are starting to transmit light languages. How it was put to me by my guides and some galactic folk were saying that it's like there's needing to be another way to access the human mind
Yeah,
that is bypassing linear language and how we're speaking right now that can
yeah.
activate other things inside of us.
To bypass the ego mind and
Mhm.
activate the light body, which then will in turn activate the DNA
Mhm.
and activate this acceleration, this change of into a crystalline structure, into a higher dimensional flow, and to incorporate more light.
Yeah.
We must incorporate more light into our bodies. And this is a way that we can do that.
Mhm.
Because I had, about was it almost a year ago, January, I think, of last year. Um, I was in meditation and I felt this kind of energy come down, and it was the Galactic Federation of Light. And they
Mm.
said, we would like you to bring light language for an hour a day onto your dimensional plane.
Mm,
So
mm,
we're calling you to do an hour of light language. And I was like, my God, I'm going to sit there for an hour and just channel. Sometimes it's like so tiring on the body, you know, because you know that just the way that you're.
that would be a lot for an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. But I broke it down into like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 15 minutes there, 15 minutes there. And I had put out a video on that
Mhm,
about a year ago, um, telling everybody to try and activate their own light language, to start with the Om.
mhm.
Because yeah, the toning, like I just uploaded a light language video to my site, I guess about 4 or 5 days ago. And
Mm,
all I did was sustain a tone.
mhm. Yeah.
For a long time, that's all that wanted to come through.
Mhm.
It's fun. I love it. I love it. It makes me feel like I'm in connection with spirit, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's because I don't have any vocal, I don't have any background in that. And it's not me using my voice. It's like what, I mean, I lived in hiding for a long time and was really addled by shame and needing to
Mhm,
not be seen. So
mhm,
having those big tones come out, and they come out in all of my healing sessions,
mhm.
particularly.
Yeah.
And I can feel them working on me,
Mhm,
it's like, oh, wow, what is this?
mhm.
This is like, no mistake here, this is real.
Yeah. Would you be comfortable channeling some light language today?
Oh, yeah, I guess so after we're talking about it, huh?
After we're talking about it, and that's really, it's really, really close to my heart, and I do a lot with the
Yeah.
light language, so it would mean a lot. And I
Yeah.
might do some too, because it was coming through when you were talking earlier.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Kalana kama kalana kanya ani kama tum kara ani kali ishi kara mokali disha mokalina kara kara mokatakali iri wara makara ni shepunia dila ikarari nile na kara kara putun kali encheko ani se kana enche makatili shepur makanche kani ni atachim ania ani katau kalina kanuni ni shepokani li atachimani kalani kaso kali enche. Boy, that was a really loving, wow, that was emotional. It
Yeah.
was a really, like, loving each other better. Yeah, come down out of your heads and be here in the heart.
Heart. Oh,
It doesn't matter what happened in the past, it's only the time of now. Enche mukaniti shikelani karine naje mokane ilama enche akanini ishma. Yeah, it's like
how
so
beautiful.
embraced by the presence there. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I'm doing a light language. I'm doing a physical light language, and
yeah,
uh, so it's really some energy manipulation. And I do this in my healing sessions too. I think they kind of I just giggle. I just giggle because I don't know what to say, what to do. It just comes out. It just
yeah.
comes out.
Mhm.
Siashmahaya tereke sushaya matuka. Yasishmahia tereke wasishmayata. Umehesishwaya tereke wasishmaya turuku. Ketia tereke esishe turamahe. O meheseshwaya tereke sishmaya turukia. Ayaseshwaya tirama turuku sishmahe tereko sishmaya he. O heseshmaya kutu. Kiama ere seshehu hatere kaya susha. Kim hemeya wa haseshwaya turuku ya nasmashehu turuka. Ia seshwaya ketere he seshe kawayesu. Oh. Oh, me too. It's like, oh, it's getting all,
It's very like I feel so like we're being so embraced by this
oh
energy
my God, it's
of a loving,
beautiful.
really loving presence with all of
So
us.
loving. Oh, there is so much for us to
Mhm.
still awaken, right? I mean, we're just a few people who have access to this love. And we've got, it's going to just open up. It's just going to open up. Oh my God, how beautiful. How exciting. How exciting. I'm thrilled. I'm just thrilled that we have this, that we're able to help. I don't know. That's me. I sorry, I just kind of get carried away on that. Let me tack on. Are you
Mhm.
are you complete with the light language? Do you want to share
Yeah, we
anything
could go
else?
all, it just goes like a faucet, but I'm hoping people in the audience could feel some kind of vibrational
I hope so.
exchange there, and
I
and
hope
take from
so.
that. Mhm.
Yeah, the people who listen to me are they receive activations. They receive activations. They start speaking like language. They get healings. They get spontaneous, beautiful thing. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. And I'm going to tack this on. It's a perfect segue to talking about this event that you and I are both going to go to. You are going to be presenting at the Secret Space Conference in May 2nd through 6th.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Okay, in
really May. Yeah.
Grafton, Illinois,
Mhm.
sponsored by Journey to Truth podcast. And one thing that I have come that I feel very, very called to do is I want to bring forth as much energetic protection as possible for this event. And I'm working with Journey to Truth on that. And I've reached out to some of my friends who are going to be there. And I can actually include you in that because I'm sure you know, assist in that. Um, so first of all, talk a little bit about that and talk a little bit about what's still happening because I still receive some very little bit. I still receive attacks through the lower fourth density,
Mhm.
through the astral. Does anything still attach to you? Are you still receiving anything? Because I know there are a lot of people who are, and I think
Mm.
right now, as that lower fourth
Mhm.
astral world realm is getting compressed,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they're
Yeah,
reaching
I
out
know
for
this
as
because
much
of
as
what I know
possible.
this coming through, client sessions of what people are working
Yep.
with and kind of a cross section of that. Yeah, I mean, it's very much, the dark forces are hanging on tooth and nail and
Mhm.
taking lots of opportunities
Right.
to stop the progress.
Mhm.
So I, what to say about the conference? I mean, it's in 2 months, so it's coming up. It's coming
If
up.
anybody is interested in this, please buy a ticket. I mean, not only will it be an opportunity, or even if you feel like you have been in the program and you're just, we need to create family. We need to create a loving family, a safe family where all these people like yourself and individuals that I am very close to, uh, that have already come out. Um, you know, I just saw our 1111. I love seeing these numbers. Um, you've gone through it, but there are people whose memories,
Yeah.
whose lives are
Mhm.
just
Mhm. Mhm.
cracking open.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
talk to me to us about that in your life.
There's a lot more people coming into their memories right now, and reaching out for support. And um, the time is now, to the more we come into awareness of those things, the more the planet begins to shift.
Yeah.
And it's like time is of the essence. So, there's been enough progress, I think, spiritually for the collective. It
Mhm.
seems to me that there's a catalyzing force that is, and so many people doing it at once is like they're activating each other.
Right.
And I do hope, supporting each other, although I will say that it's an isolating and can be a very lonely,
Right.
disenfranchising journey when you're really in the nitty gritty of all these flashbacks and memories coming back and trying to piece things together and going, what the F? What is this? This is, you go through across the board. It seems to me everybody goes through this period of like, okay, I'm crazy.
Mhm.
This isn't possible. How is this possible?
Yeah.
Like when I really realized all the stuff that happened to myself and my family growing up, I'm like, God, how could this have been right in front of me? And I didn't know it. Well, I didn't want to know it, and I wasn't supposed to know it anyway.
Right.
But but back to the conference. I mean, it's such a beautiful opportunity for us to be together and hopefully allow ourselves some vulnerability and community to form there, where we can, especially after all the COVID and the pandemic and being
Mhm.
separated, could
Mhm.
something really beautiful happen here? I hope so.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
It's important to, you know, for me, I've been drawn to individuals that have gone through this clandestine world. Um, I've been drawn to it for many, many years.
Mhm.
And it was just this pull within me. It was a fascination, it was a pull within me. And um, I feel very, very called to assist. Very, very called to assist in my role as a healer and channel in, you know, in this life. I just put out a little um, short little video a couple of days ago, directly asking people who follow me to start keeping these individuals such as yourself and all these souls that are lighting up right now, that are awakening to their truths, to keep them in a protective, you know, just to send them protection and love energy, because it's a spiritual war. It's a spiritual war that we're going through. I've been, my own personal life, I've been dealing with the demonic most of my adult life. And many times I was attacked. I've had my own experiences with lower fourth astral beings, and
Mm.
being a Catholic, growing up in such a Catholic family as I did, it was always an interest. My father had an interest in it. He would tell me things, and had books on, um, you know, uh, demons, etc., and things like that. I assisted a demonologist, an exorcist. I
Mm.
was a spiritual prayer warrior for him, and I was getting attacked in my dream state for that as well. So this is all part of the soup here,
Mhm.
all part of the soup. So
Yeah, and part of the journey of your soul, like coming through
mhm,
that, gave you what you needed to be
right,
really a compassionate aid, in a somebody who's really inspired uh, to help those of us who've been through the programs.
right,
You know,
right.
right? Yeah.
So tell us now, what are you doing, and how do you help, and what would you like to put forth before we wrap it up?
I mean, I would say most of my service work is with my clients and working one-on-one with people in a
Mhm,
variety of different ways, doing readings and healing sessions, light language sessions, past life readings, and coaching, starseed coaching for people who are waking up to their intuitive capacity and so on and so forth. Um, that's where I serve the most. And also deep practice. I believe that one of the biggest offerings I can make is to remain stable and heart centered during this time for the rest of my life, to
mhm,
be in that place where I have a lot to offer to others from the perspective of sanity, basic dignity, and basic goodness, to
mhm,
hold that open, and to always be working with myself, like in a humble way, always be doing my own work.
mhm.
My teachers have taught me, you have to help yourself first and go down in the crucible of your own suffering in order to truly be able to help others. And I have found that to be very true. So I think, it's funny, oftentimes light workers, we're so like this, we want to run out and help everybody else. And that's very noble, but we have to help ourselves too. And that is a huge assistance to the world. So, there's so much to it. But just keeping on my journey. And like I said, trying really hard to be open and not become divided into one camp or the other, and just hold that place of equanimity where there's space for all things to exist. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. How beautiful. So if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah. My website is RebeccaRoseBarfoot.com, and maybe we can put that in
Absolutely.
the description below.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the links below.
Links below. So, and maybe you'll, come to the conference and you can meet Anne Marie and I and so many other people there. Um, mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I support the gentlemen that are running this conference. I have been for quite a long time. And I just think that it's helping change the world. It really is, on
Mhm.
many, many levels. So I encourage everybody to look into that if you have any interest. If you live near Illinois, if you don't live near Illinois and you want to go.
And
I
it is in
highly
a
encourage
really
it.
it's in a beautiful
Yeah.
spot. It's just north of St. Louis, so it's pretty accessible.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's marvelous. I hope that you look into it as well. Well, we come to another close of Conversations with Anne Marie,
Mhm.
and I thank you again, Rebecca, for this lovely conversation. And we could talk hours
We
on
could talk for hours for
we could
sure.
talk for hours, but I'm a short and sweet kind of person, and because I can't listen for hours, so I need to keep things a little bit short. But thank you. What a great range of topics we talked about, and lots of similarities in our lives. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you again for
Thanks for
taking
having me, Anne Marie. Yeah.
to be on my podcast. Please, if you enjoy this work, like and subscribe and share. like, subscribe to this channel, and share the videos far and wide. We are on a train to Onenessville, as Ra has um, channeled through me the other day. And I encourage everyone to hop on board. I am Anne Marie, the Art of Healing, and thank you for being with us.